everybody, welcome to the dungeon. My name is Robin and today is Lampworking 101.62. Today I wanted to talk about a descending dot pattern, and this is a beautiful bead. You've probably made a few before. I have seen pictures of them all over the place and they are just gorgeous, and it's a standard flameworking technique, working with dots. The design is beautiful and it's fairly simple to make. If you're practicing dots, this is a great bead to try. I will always be amazed at how many techniques and patterns there are in lampworking, and this one is no exception. It is a brilliant way to bring a bead to life from the inside out, and of course the colors. Where do you even start? Start by picking out 4 or 5 really beautiful colors that go well together. I'm going to be using transparent today. So let's get right into this and see how this pattern is made. And on that note, I hope you're all doing safe and well, and I'll see you next time in the dungeon. All right, we're going to go ahead and start this bead out with a base of black. And I'm going to start out by making it kind of small. Just a couple wraps next to each other is all you need to get this thing started. I'm going to add a little bit extra here. So we'll start, so this is basically going to be a small round bead. But you do want to make it a little wide so we can get all of the pattern on here. Okay, I just added a couple wraps on top of that bead to round it out, and I'm just heating things up, getting them melted in and looking real nice so we can begin this pattern. I always like to start out with a really nice looking base bead to add my colors onto. So make sure that your bead looks the way you want it to before you start adding your dots. Now the important thing here is when I start adding dots, I'm going to add white, and I'm putting about 6 dots on the equator, but if you notice, it's kind of halfway down. It's on the halfway side. This whole starting point is important to watch, because when I started this bead, I flipped around my mandrel. So I am working on one end right now because it's going to be easier for me to get to this end now than it would be on the other side. I hope that makes sense. So I'm adding some dark emerald green to the dots. And I'm not completely covering up the white dot. If the white dots were a little smaller, you could cover up each white dot and go from there. But here I'm just gently heating and pressing each one of these down. I'm not going to do this on every round of dots that I do, just a few of them. And once I have this kind of pressed down a little bit, it's easier and it makes heating the bead up and smoothing it out quicker. Okay. Now the next color I'm going to use is a pea green, and notice where I place this dot. It is going to be on the center or top side of each dot. It's not in the center, it's on one end of the dot. And that starts our cascading pattern. Now when I'm done heating this up, I am going to flip my mandrel around, and then I can continue working on the other side. It just seemed easier this way than to have to reach over and try to add the dots from this angle. So now that I'm at a nice point to be at this angle, I will start to add another row of white dots right on the edge of the dots I had just laid down. I love watching the glass melt. It's so much fun. I love to watch everything melt down nice and evenly, and that's what you're looking for every time you melt the glass in, is a nice even melt. On top of these white dots, I'm going to add a little bit of transparent aqua blue. This is such a gorgeous color. And like before, I'm just adding these right on top of the white. Pressing them down nice and evenly. You don't have to necessarily do this step, but it does help to get the glass going to where it needs to a little faster, and it helps to round out the shape of the dot as well. And at this point, I am starting to heat slightly on an angle. I don't necessarily have to heat the, what would that be? The left side of the bead. I'm really working everything on the right side of the bead. I'm adding a little bit of sky blue here. And this is where we continue our descending dot pattern by adding these dots right on the bottom half of the previous dot or circle. And then melting things down, getting them nice and hot again. And don't worry, your bead will not be perfectly round yet. Don't worry about the bead shape. Just worry about getting your pattern on right now. I could have made these rows getting smaller and smaller, but I'm just using your basic rod size to lay the dots down. I'm not using a stringer or anything until I get to the end. Okay, so here we have another row. This is a violet, really pretty violet, transparent. Anytime I'm adding color on top of the white, you'll notice that I will do this little press down of the dots. And it really does help to heat things up more evenly and get them moving a little faster too. So you see how my bead is not round anymore? I'm just going to very gently right now. I'm not pushing a lot of glass around, I'm just rounding it slightly. And now for the final couple rows, I'm adding my favorite bubblegum pink. And I'm just gonna melt that right in. Notice I'm just heating on that one side. So as I'm heating, those dots are going towards the heat, towards the mandrel. And finally, I'm adding some little orange dots at the very end. And I'm gonna heat where I laid those dots down and then start to heat everything up because I'm finished with my pattern. All right, now is when you can start to round it out a little bit. It shouldn't need much help, but if you need the help, you know, use whatever tools you can to gently round it out. And when you're done, let your bead cool down a little bit, and I'm going to add clear on the whole thing. If you, and this is kind of funny because I'm adding my clear here, and this move, when I just went up and moved my hand like that, that kind of messed up my pattern. So when you're adding clear around the glass, try to keep your hand and everything in the same place. I couldn't figure out how that little strange wisp of glass, you might see it at the end. Anyway, it just smeared the pattern just a little bit from that one movement, and I had to go back and watch the video to see where and why that happened. So anytime you're adding or encasing with clear, try to keep your angle the same the whole time. It'll be better for the pattern in the long run. All right, now that I have the whole thing covered in clear, I am just going to spend a little bit of time heating up and shaping with the graphite paddle. And it does take time. I tend to get impatient with the glass and just want things to happen faster. Like in this video, how I have things sped up. I love how quickly it goes. So in order for me to get my clear all the way to the mandrel side, I really heat up those edges and focus a lot, and you'll start to see that clear kind of creeping towards the mandrel. And right before I'm done, I'm just going to roll it. This is optional, but I just wanted to roll it out a little bit and widen everything. And that is it. I'm just going to finish heating this up, and this beautiful cascading pattern bead is finished. I hope you guys enjoyed this and give this a try. And on that note, I will see you guys next week in the dungeon.